cabin vent redundancy configuration.
Copy that.
Columbia, Houston, I'd like to do the SIMO comm check. How do you hear?
CDR loud and clear. PLT loud and clear. MS1 loud and clear. MS2 loud and clear. MS3 loud and clear.
Columbia, Houston, we read you loud and clear. The KSC altimeter remains at 3006, and I've got a couple of notes for you. First of all, if you're ready on the NOCOM mode boundaries, I've got a couple of changes in press to ATO and press to MECO when you're copy.
Okay, we're ready to copy, Ken.
Press to ATO will now be at 10800, and press to MECO at 13600. And next I have the max rates information on page 8-5 when you're ready to copy.
Okay, standby 1, we copy. Press ATO 10800, press MECO 13600.
That's a good copy, Columbia.
OTC, OVCC.
Go ahead.
All right, the hatch is closed, latch is locked, and care panels are on.
Thank you.
Houston, Columbia, ready to copy at max rates.
Roger, Columbia. Max rates first stage are roll 2 degrees per second at 60 seconds. Pitch 1 degree per second at 70 seconds. And yaw 1 degree per second. Trajectory lofting is 0.
Okay, copy. Roll 2 degrees at 60 seconds. Pitch 1 degree at 70 seconds. Yaw 1. Trajectory lofting 0.
Good copy, Columbia.
CDR OTC.
Go ahead.
Yes, can we verify past BFS transfer pressure complete?
Roger, VFS transfer is complete.
Copy that. You've got to go to perform your OMS Gen 2 press.
Roger, and work.
And APD OTC, check max pre-flight bite, 805.
And work. OTC, CCME.
Yeah, can you go 232 with NTD, please?
OTC, CDR, OMS Gen 2 press complete.
Thank you.
OTC, ECL.
Go ahead.
We're ready for CDR to perform the cabin vent redundancy configuration.
Okay. And CDR OTC, cabin vent redundancy config, please.
That's in work. OTC, CDR, cabin vent redundancy configs complete.
Copy that.
This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 27 minutes and counting. At this time, everything continues to run smoothly and on schedule for the launch of Columbia at 8:53 a.m. today. The orbiter test conductor, Roberto Wyrick, has been communicating back and forth with the pilot and commander regarding their comm checks, as well as with the White Room personnel, the closeout personnel, who are in the process of performing their redundancy pressure checks and leak checks of the cabin.
Step 7 95, set up your printer.
Everything continues to go well, and once the White Room closeout crew is down off the pad, which should be in the next few minutes, then the fixed service structure elevator will be locked into place on the ground. Also at this point in the count, the orbital maneuvering system gaseous nitrogen tanks have been pressurized. The pre-flight checks of the orbiter's master events controller is also being completed. And this is the software package that relays commands from the orbiter's computers to fire explosive charges that are connected to the solid rocket booster hold-down boats at the launch pad, and this occurs at launch time T0. Again, the closeout crew are in the process of tying down all loose components of the White Room before they make their exit from the pad.
OVCC.
All damage after we folded the White Room back.
Okay, thank you.
OTC CGLS.
Go ahead.
GLS limit change and dual notification for BRS PRS complete. Step 809.
Copy 809.
And Roberto Wyrick, the OTC, has just received word from the White Room that they are in the process now of securing everything for their departure. Again, no technical issues are being worked. The closeout crew is in the process of being cleared from the launch pad as the White Room is configured for today's liftoff. Everything continues to run as scheduled for launch today of the Space Shuttle Columbia.
And OVCC, OTC.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll need you to verify that all Dragon lines have been removed from the OA trustway.
You can verify that?
Thank you.
The next milestone in the count will be the standard built-in hold at T-minus 20 minutes. This hold will last for 10 minutes, and it is the first of two remaining scheduled built-in holds, the second to occur at T-minus 9 minutes. Currently, we're at T-minus 24 minutes and counting. This is shuttle launch control.
OTC ECL.
Go ahead, ECL.
Step 768, final cabin leak check is now complete.
Copy that.
And for step 769, give you a cabin DPDT reading of 0.003.
0.003, I copy.
And we're ready for cabin venting.
Okay, HDD, OTC.
This is HCD.
Step 770.
Copy that.
And TDR, OTC, open cabin vent ISO valve.
CDR inward. OTC CDR, cabin vent ISO is open.
I copy. And ECL, can you verify 773?
ECL verifies.
And ECL acknowledge 776.
ECL acknowledges.
OTC, OVCC.
Good, OVCC.
All right, we're ready to clear the White Room.
Okay,
Have your concurrence?
that's affirmative. Thanks for your help.
This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 21 minutes and counting. The Director of Payload Management and Operations at the Kennedy Space Center, John Conway, is polling his principal payload managers, and they are all reporting that they are ready to support launch today. The 5 astronauts who will fly today on board the orbiter Columbia are preparing for the final phases of the launch countdown. The astronauts are also reporting ready to fly as well, and they are all seated in the orbiter, strapped in, and the closeout crew is in the process of departing the pad. No weather concerns are being discussed at this time, nor are any technical concerns being discussed. We're just a few seconds away from entering the first of our 2 built-in holds remaining in the count.
Dan, I'll give you 838, orbiter vent doors, normal purge.
Copy that.
And we're at T-minus 20 minutes and holding. During this period, NASA Test Director Bill Dowdell will ask members of the test team to verify that the correct computer software has been loaded into the computers for the remainder of the count. Also during this time, we'll verify that the pre-flight inertial measurement units have been aligned. The landing and recovery directory will also be asked if the shuttle landing site is ready and configured for launch. And also the readiness check of the transatlantic contingency sites will be made. A final check to see if the booster recovery ships are ready to proceed out of the port. Again, the booster retrieval ships have remained on station at the Hangar AF at the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station until they'll be departing in just about 20 minutes. Everything is proceeding smoothly at this point, the count. At this time, NASA Select Television will stand by to switch to the Johnson Space Center for a brief statement on mission and flight operations from Mission Control, and then from Johnson, they will switch to the Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama for an update from there.
Please.
I copy. OTC, CUSC.
Go ahead.
Yeah, step 795 through 800 are complete.
Copy.
This is Mission Control Houston, where Flight Director Wayne Hale presides over the ascent team this morning, and astronaut Ken Cockrell will serve as the crew communicator, calling out the milestones and abort boundaries to the crew as they make their way to orbit. Just after clearing the tower, Columbia's onboard guidance system will steer the ship through a combined roll-pitch maneuver to set it on a course inclined 39 degrees to the equator. After establishing adequate uphill momentum, all 3 engines will be eased back a bit as Columbia continues to pick up speed through the dense lower altitudes. They'll throttle up again to about 104% rated thrust at about 1 minute for the remainder of the ascent. The solid rocket boosters will burn out and then fall away at about 2 minutes 6 seconds, and of course the main engines will continue to burn until about 8 minutes 38 seconds. Columbia's orbital maneuvering system engines will fire then about a half hour later to circularize its orbit at 160 by 163 nautical miles. Here at Mission Control, the team has been keeping an eye on launch and aboard landing site weather conditions throughout the morning. All sites at this point are both observed in forecast go. Flight controllers are keeping a watchful eye on conditions at Edwards Air Force Base, however, for abort once around operation support. But at this point, optimism is very high that all conditions will remain go throughout the window this morning. Flight controllers here will continue to watch world weather, monitor critical orbiter systems, and stand ready to take control of the vehicle at solid rocket booster ignition. We'll check in now with the USMP Payload Operations Control Center at the Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. This is Mission Control Houston.
OTC, CLCP.
Go ahead.
Permission to pick up with 924 with the count and CMQC on 153.
Okay, same QC.
Copy 153.
And you got to go F-15.
This is U.S. Microgravity Payload Operations Control in Huntsville. There's a large team of scientists and engineers on station here also, awaiting the launch of Columbia. They're here and ready to go to work because the experiments making up the second flight of the U.S. Microgravity Payload are scheduled to be the primary operational payload
for approximately the first 9.5 days of this planned 14-day mission. Within 3 hours of launch, activities with the 5 systems or instruments making up the U.S. microgravity payload are scheduled to begin. Those systems are designed with a high degree of flexibility to be able to operate either in a largely automated mode or with whatever degree of interaction from the ground may be appropriate, or with shuttle crew involvement if necessary. So the team here, actually a number of specialized teams working together, is ready to support the planned experiments, monitor the data acquisition, and generally to make sure the maximum science data is collected during their allotted time. The Director of Payload Operations here in Huntsville has confirmed that everything is ready to support the STS-62 mission. At T-minus 20 minutes and holding, this is Space Lab Mission Operations Control Huntsville, and we'll now return to the Kennedy Space Center for the remainder of today's launch countdown.
This is the Kennedy Space Center Launch Control. Everything here remains steady and on course for launch of the Space Shuttle Columbia on its 14-day flight. Again, there are no concerns with the vehicle, and the weather forecast remains excellent. We have just about 4.5 minutes remaining in our built-in hold at this time. At T-minus 20 minutes and holding, this is Shuttle Launch Control.
JV effect verified.
I copy. And attention personnel, this is the NTD on 212 and 232. Conducting the briefing. The launch window opens today at 13:53 GMT and closes at 17:53 GMT. A second launch attempt is possible if a recycle occurs. There are no calls for this morning's work. If a hold is requested and issued between T-minus 9 minutes and T-minus 31 seconds, the countdown clock will be restarted upon successful resolution of the problem without a go survey made of all elements. If launch cannot be accomplished within the launch window, or if the following times are exceeded for launch, cutoff will be called. Launch bringback hold time is 4:47 and performance is 7:12. TLT at T-minus 5 minutes, perform APU start upon command of OTC only.
Roger that, PLT copies.
And CDR, the pad egress system is nominal, and the evacuation helipad is helipad 8.
CDR copies.
Fine room launch team, disable telephone ringers at this time. Ingress and egress of the fine room will not be allowed after resuming the count at T-minus 20 minutes until after launch, a flight crew egress at the recycle occurs. All personnel not active in terminal count monitor 217. All personnel, please bear in mind that critical post-launch operations will be in progress after successful launch, so keep fine room activities and noise to a minimum. After T-minus 20 minutes, all problems or trends that require a countdown clock hold will be reported to the NTD on channel 212, together with a recommendation. After T-minus 5 minutes, any hold, manual or GLS, should be accompanied by a description of the problem and a recommendation. The count clock will continue until T-minus 31 seconds unless the recommendation to hold the next milestone is necessary. Are there any questions? That concludes the briefing.
All personnel to OTC. After transition to Ops 101, discontinue all LDV PMU reads for remainder of countdown.
OTC ECL.
Go ahead.
Cabin venting is complete. Ready for cabin pressure reading.
Copy that. CDR OTC, air ground 1.
Go ahead, ready for the reading.
Okay, I need your cabin press on 01, please.
On 01, the reading is 15.0.
15.0, I copy. ECL?
ECL copies for 822. We'll record a cabin press of 14.84.
14.84. And CDR on BFS System 1, I need the cabin press, please.
Roger. And on System 1, cabin press is 14.8.
14.8, and you can return to BFS BPC memory.
Roger, complete.
And And ECL, we ready for 827?
CCL, affirmative.
Copy that. CDR OTC, close cabin vent valves.
Roger, Lord.
PTC, FTD on there, ground one. Go ahead, sir. Yeah, PST deactivation, is that required?
This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 20 minutes and holding. We're just about 30 seconds away from resuming the count at the T-minus 20-minute mark. As we come out of the hold, Columbia's onboard computers will transition into the terminal phase of the countdown configuration. Following this, the launch team will check the computer memory of one of the 5 primary computers on Columbia to ensure the programs have been properly stored. Standing by now for the resumption of the count. 4, 3, 2, 1, and we are at T-minus 20 minutes and counting. From this point until the T-minus 31-second mark, any of the dozens of console operators in the firing room may ask that the count be held if a problem is detected on the system they are monitoring. A purge of the 3 onboard cryogenic fuel cells will soon be underway. The fuel cells are small power plants that use liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen to produce the electricity the shuttle will need in space. The byproduct produces the drinking water the astronauts will use while they're in space for 14 days. The 3 260-pound fuel cells are located in the orbiter's mid-body behind the payload bay liner. They provide a daily average of 9 kilowatts of power to the shuttle during flight.
212. Go ahead. Yes, sir. I can verify step 969, close out code AB11, and also 970. I copy 969 and 970. Tack off for 1 CD. Tack. Step 969.
T-minus 19 minutes and counting.
STM NTD. Go ahead. Step 971. Copy. STM NTD. 212. STM. Step 973. Deactivate pad OIF, please. Copy 973. ATC DPS.
Go ahead, DTS.
Pass off transition complete. DPS ready for BFS transition to Ops 101, please.
Copy that. CDR OTC, take BFS to Ops 1 for your checklist.
CDR inward. STE entity 212. STE, go ahead. That last lock's IPO on the replaced valve, but we cleared that string. I know it's in the quality room. Let me have someone check. NTD, STE, they've been cleared. Okay, I'll copy. You have no constraints. That's affirmative? Okay, I'll copy. STM entity 212. Go ahead. Step 971, terminate video tracking. Okay, complete. SRO NTD. KSC area is clear for launch. SRO, go ahead. Yes, sir. Step 972, KSC area clear for launch. Copy, sir. Thank you. OTC, CDR, VFS Ops 1 is complete.
Copy that. And PLT OTC, you can configure your PAS and VFS horizontal fit displays for your checklist.
That's in work, OTC. That's the DFM. Good. 992 complete. Copy.
And CDR OTC, configure contingency abort yaw steer for your checklist.
Roger.
T-minus 16 minutes and counting. Pilot Andy Allen is in the process of performing the main propulsion system helium reconfiguration.
NTD CVFS.
Good, VFS.
Step 945, ready for VFS uplink.
Hot copy. Flight NTD 212.
NTD flight.
Step 946, perform BFS pre-flight uplink load, please.
We'll put that in work.
The launch of Columbia today on Space Shuttle mission STS-62 will be the second shuttle launch from KSC this year. 6 other missions are currently targeted to be launched from KSC in 1994.
You configure ohms and RCS cross stage for flight.
Copy.
This will be the 16th flight of the Shuttle Columbia and the 61st mission overall in the shuttle program.
OTC PLT horizontal set config is complete.
Copy that, and you've got to go for MTS helium reconfig.
OTC CWS 212.
Roger that, in work.
Go ahead, WS.
Ohms RCS cross speed valves to configure for flight.
Copy.
NTD flight.
Go ahead, flight.
Step 947 BFS pre-flight uplink load is complete.
Hot copy. CVFS.
CVFS copy.
Thank you.
OTC PLT helium reconfig is complete for MPF.
Copy that.
OTC.
Go ahead, FCC.
Step 974, purge complete, ready for load test.
Copy that. EPD, OTC.
APD, go ahead.
976, fuel cell load adjust.
And work.
ACL, you copy?
CCL copy. Houston flight, ISL and JRPS, NTD on 212. Just ISL. Just JRPS. And flight NTD 212.
Flight's here.
Okay, if you're ready, we're ready for early extra quarter activation. Step 979.
We'll put it in work.
I copy. ISL, you copy? Copy that, going to channel 145 near CMQC. Okay, I copy. And RPS, please go to 145. JRPS copy.
CMQC, you copy?
Copy. Flight NTD 212.
NTD flight.
Yes, sir. The G1 launch target uplink loading. Is that going to be not performed?
That'll be a not performed.
Copy.
T-minus 12 minutes and counting.
212.
We've received verification that all contingency support operations are on board and ready for today's launch,
Yes,
and that emergency aircraft and personnel are reporting in place and on station.
OTC, CVFS. Go ahead, CVFS. Step 95, GPC dump complete. Copy that.
T-minus 11 minutes and counting. Everything continues on schedule. Again, no technical problems are being discussed or worked, and the weather is not going to be an issue for us today. The countdown clock will hold at T-minus 9 minutes and just about 1 minute 45 seconds.
MO2C per day.
Go ahead.
Step 976 complete.
Copy that. Thank you. And all personnel discontinue all non-mandatory LDB traffic for remainder of count.
Flight NTD 212.
NTD flight.
Yes, sir. The RTLS update, will that be required?
We will have an update for the crew, however, we're not quite ready yet.
I copy.
We're at T-minus 9 minutes and holding. This is a scheduled 10-minute built-in hold. As the count resumes, the ground launch sequencer will be in control of operations. Several polls are normally taken at this time to verify that the team is ready to proceed with launch. And of course, at this time, there are no known concerns.
NTD, CSL. Go ahead, ISL. Yes, sir. Pre-launch MADS OEX recorder configuration is complete. Step 2, 980. I copy. Thank you.
Conducting the launch director's poll today will be Jim Harrington, Director of Space Shuttle Operations at Kennedy Space Center. That poll will be coming up momentarily. And flight NTD 212.
NTD flight.
Yes, sir. Are you ready for the RTLS update?
Not yet, NTD.
Okay, I copy. ISL, 0 RPS, and flight NTD on 212. Let's activate recorders, please. CISL? CISL copies that, going on 145. And RPS? RPS copies. And flight?
Flight copies.
Okay, step 1016.
NTD, this is Stage Ready.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we have water spray boiler number 2, steam vent temperature trending down, and this is typical and expected. We're 1 degree away from losing the water spray boiler OK, which feeds into the APU, ready to start talkback. And we're to tell the PLT that if he doesn't have a gray talkback at APU pre-start, that he's to ignore that and go for a nominal APU start.
Okay, copy. And this is already published.
Yeah, this is covered under hydraulics SSID number 10 LCC.
Okay, I copy. SPE entity 212. SE copied. Just want to make sure PLT copied that transmission. PLT entity 212.
PLT copied all. Repeat APU number.
That would be APU number 2.
Roger, thank you.
Attention on net 212. This is NTD conducting a launch status check. Verify ready to resume count and go for launch. Say go or no go. OTC, go. TBC. TBC, go. TTC. Taylor's go. LPS.
LPS go.
Flight.
Flight is go.
Mila.
Miles go.
STM. STM go. Safety console. Safety go. SPE. SPE go. CDR.
CDR go.
LRD. LRD is go. And SRO.
SRO is go. You have a range clear to launch.
Launch director NTD on 212. Okay, LD, go ahead, NTD. Yes, sir. 1019. Your launch team is ready to proceed. Roger. Thank you.
NTD flight.
Go flight.
We have our weather update for the crew at this time.
Okay, go ahead.
CDR is ready to copy. Houston, CDR, go ahead with the weather update.
Columbia, Houston, because of weather problems at Edwards, we're using KSC as the AOA site. Be KSC 33, closed aim point, nominal speed brake, 2,000 feet down the runway with the speed brake closed.
CDR copies.
And NTD, that completes our weather update for the crew.
Okay, I copy.
OTC CPVD.
Go ahead.
Steps 10, 12, and 13 complete. 10, 14 is not performed, and I can give you 10, 15.
Copy that.
This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 9 minutes and holding with just about 3.5 minutes remaining in our hold today.
That's an alert.
Thank you.
NASA Test Director Bill Dowdell has completed his poll of the various test conductors, and they all report ready to fly. Mission Management Team Chairman Lauren Shriver has reported in that all of his polled members are ready to fly as well.
NTD, this is JLD on 212. I'll conduct the management poll at this time. Payloads?
Payloads are go, Jim, and thanks for great support, Jim, over the years.
Engineering Director?
Hey, Jim, engineers go.
SR and QA? SR and QA is go. Range weather?
Launch director, we have no constraints to flight.
And MMP? And Jim, the MMP is no constraints declared to launch. Roger, thank you.
And Columbia, launch director.
Columbia's here, loud and clear, Bob.
Okay, John, well, looks great down here. Hopes to give you guys and Marcia a great ride here in a few minutes.
Okay, well, just want to thank you, Bob, and all the folks on the world's greatest launch team for all your hard work that you've put in to get us ready to go. And we're looking for a safe and successful mission on Columbia.
Well, thank you, sir. It's always a privilege and a pleasure. And the NTD go to proceed.
I copy, thank you. And the countdown clock will pick up in 2 minutes.
This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 9 minutes and holding.
Step 10.
We're prepared to pick up the count in less than 2 minutes at this time, following the successful polling by Jim Harrington, Director of Shuttle Operations at Kennedy Space Center. The word is also coming down that the Kennedy Space Center will be the abort once around site instead of the standard site at Edwards Air Force Base because of inclement weather at Edwards.
Roger. Countdown clock will resume in approximately 1 minute. Countdown clock will resume on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark.
And we're at T-minus 9 minutes and counting.
TLS auto
The
sequence.
ground launch sequencer has been initiated. And NASA Test Director Bill Daldell is about to call for the transmittal of stored pre-launch commands, as Columbia is only 9 minutes from its 16th mission in space. On board is the United States microgravity payload and the Office of Aeronautics and Space Technology Experiments, and a crew of 5 astronauts. Launch is now scheduled to occur on time at 8:53 a.m. Eastern Time.
PLT OTC, configure fuel cell essential bus door switches.
Roger, inward.
T-minus 8 minutes and counting. And pilot Andy Allen is now flipping switches in the cockpit to directly connect the 3 fuel cells to the essential power buses.
Thank you.
TLS is go for OAA retract.
The orbiter access arm is now being retracted away from the vehicle. This is the walkway used by the crew to gain entry into and out of the vehicle, and it can be returned to position within seconds if need be. T-minus 7 minutes and counting.
JRPS, OTC, start APU and hydraulic strip chart recorder.
JRPS copies.
PLT, OTC, perform APU pre-start.
Roger, APU pre-start.
The orbiter test conductor has given Columbia pilot Andy Allen the go to perform the auxiliary power unit pre-start procedure.
OTC, pre-start is complete. APU 2, talkback power report is brief.
T-minus 5 minutes and counting.
You start.
And we have a go for APU start.
Perform APU start.
Roger, APU start.
And CDR OTC, reconfigure heaters.
CDR in work.
T-minus 4 minutes, 30 seconds.
APU start.
Thank you.
We have reports that the APU start has been completed.
Reconfig complete.
Thank you.
And the SRB and external tank safe and arm devices have been armed. Also, the main fuel valve heaters on the 3 shuttle main engines have been turned on. T-minus 4 minutes and counting.
Genesis go for purge sequence 4.
A test of the flight control surfaces is now being conducted. T-minus 3 minutes, 30 seconds and counting. Everything continues to look good for launch this morning. The final aerosurface checks of the orbiter's flaps and rudder have been completed. A final gimbal of the main engine bells is now underway. This is a final check of the main engines prior to launch. T-minus 3 minutes and counting. All is continuing to go well today for the launch of Space Shuttle Columbia and the second U.S. microgravity payload. This mission carries a crew of 5 and is scheduled to last 14 days with a landing back here at the Kennedy Space Center 2 weeks from today.
TLT OTC, clear caution warning memory, verify no unexpected errors.
Roger and work.
T-minus 2 minutes, 20 seconds and counting. All is ready to fly today on NASA's 4.5 million pound space shuttle vehicle.
Caution warning is complete.
Thank you.
Orbiter test conductor has requested that Andy Allen clear the caution and warning memory system, and that has been reported complete.
Flight crew, close and lock your visors, initiate O2 flow, and have a...
T-minus 2 minutes and counting.
Roger, that's in work, and thank you.
Okay, let's go for ET LH2 pressurization.
T-minus 1 minute, 45 seconds. Everything continues to look good for launch this morning. In about 90 seconds, the Space Shuttle Columbia will begin its 14th day extended duration orbiter flight, one of the longest in Space Shuttle history.
1 minute 30.
T-minus 1 minute and counting. T-minus 50 seconds, and we're transferring to orbital internal power at this time. Columbia is now running off its 3 onboard fuel cells.
Let's go for auto sequence start.
And we have a go for auto sequence start. Columbia's onboard computers have primary control of all the vehicle's critical functions.
20.
T-minus 20. 15. 11. 10. 9. 8. 7. We have a go for main engine start. 4. 3. 2. 1. And liftoff. Liftoff of the Space Shuttle Columbia as NASA continues on the cutting edge of microgravity research.
Houston's now controlling.
Damn, Houston.
Roger, roll, Columbia.
Mission Control sees a good roll maneuver, placing Columbia on the proper heading. 3 good engines at 104%. Three engines are throttling back now, easing the buildup of aerodynamic loads as Columbia continues to accelerate rapidly through the dense lower altitudes. 3 engines now at 67%. Columbia is traveling over 500 miles an hour at 52 seconds. All systems are performing well.
Columbia, go at throttle up.
Roger, go at throttle up.
All 3 engines are now running at full throttle. All systems are performing well. Altitude is now 59,000 feet, downrange distance 7 nautical miles. Columbia is traveling over 1,000 miles per hour at 1 minute 29 seconds. Columbia continues to climb at a relatively steep angle at this point, relying heavily on the solid rocket boosters to triple its rate of speed over the next 60 seconds. Delivering a combined 6.5 million pounds of thrust, the boosters will burn out and separate at 2 minutes 6 seconds. Time now 1 minute 48 seconds. All systems are performing well. Altitude 116,000 feet, downrange distance 18 nautical miles. Mission Control sees a good booster separation. Columbia is now flying free, powered by its own main engines. Second stage guidance is now in control. Altitude 184,000 feet.
Columbia, performance nominal.
Performance nominal.
That's an indication that the boosters have done their job as designed, and the main engines as well. Altitude is now 198,000 feet, downrange distance 44 nautical miles. Columbia is now traveling over 3,000 miles per hour.
Columbia, 2-engine Ben Guerrier.
2-engine Ben Guerrier.
Columbia can now cross the Atlantic with only 2 engines should one fail. Altitude's now 236,000 feet, downrange distance 59 nautical miles. Columbia is traveling over 3,200 miles per hour. Altitude's now 265,000 feet. At this altitude, Columbia's flight path is already beginning to level out a bit, lightening its load as propellant burns off, but continuing to accelerate very rapidly. Columbia is traveling nearly 5,000 miles per hour at 286,000 feet and 87 nautical miles off the coast of Florida. Time 3 minutes 37 seconds. All systems aboard Columbia are continuing to perform very well. 3 engines holding steady at 104% rated thrust.
Columbia, negative return.
Negative return.
A return to the launch site is at this point no longer an option as Columbia continues downrange. Altitude is now 336,000 feet. Columbia is 140 nautical miles downrange. Time 4 minutes 31 seconds. Altitude 350,000 feet. Downrange distance 162 nautical miles. Columbia continues to fly as a very clean machine. 4 engines at 104% rated thrust, good electrical system, good hydraulics.
Columbia, press to ATO.
Press to ATO.
Columbia has at this point gained enough momentum to reach a safe orbit should one engine fail. All three engines continue to perform well, continuing to burn at 104% rated thrust. Altitude is now 371,000 feet, downrange 240 nautical miles.
Career 109.
Troop band 109.
Columbia, press to MECO.
Press to MECO.
Columbia, single engine bin 104.
Single engine bin 104.
At 6 minutes 20 seconds, Columbia now has enough momentum to make a normal insertion to orbit with only two engines, and could now make a transatlantic flight with only one. Altitude is now 374,000 feet, downrange distance 366 nautical miles. Columbia is traveling nearly 10,000 miles per hour at this point.
Columbia, single engine press 104.
Single engine press 104.
Should two engines fail beyond this point, Columbia could still reach a safe orbit with a remaining engine at 104% rated thrust. All three engines continue to burn at 104. Good hydraulics, good electrical systems. Altitude's now 366,000 feet as Columbia begins to give altitude to gain momentum. Downrange distance is now 506 nautical miles. Carrying very little fuel, Columbia's load is well lightened and continues to give a little bit of altitude to gain momentum as it hurtles downrange. Downrange distance is now 608 nautical miles, altitude 363,000 feet. Columbia's engines are throttling back now to maintain structural loads within the 3G limit. We're standing by for main engine cutoff. Cutoff expected at 8 minutes 31 seconds at this point. 8 minutes 21 seconds.
MECO, Houston, Columbia and her crew are back in space.
Roger,
and
MECO.
we're glad to be here.
Roger, MECO, and you looked very good.
I do that.
Columbia, Houston, nominal MECO, ohms 1 not required. You've got to go for the ET photo DTO.
Roger, go.
Columbia is now flying free of the external tank and in orbit. To be precise, a 153.7 by 43.2 nautical mile orbit. Coming up in just about half an hour, the orbital maneuvering system engines aboard Columbia will fire to circularize Columbia's orbit at 160 by 163 nautical miles. The climb to orbit this morning was essentially event-free, other than the nominal events expected between solid rocket booster ignition and the time the main engines cut off. Columbia reached its target in terms of velocity and altitude on all counts. At this point, the crew will be, one of the crew members will be moving to the overhead windows of the crew cabin to take some photographs of the external tank as it tumbles back to Earth, where it'll burn up in the atmosphere before re-entering. Underway aboard Columbia right now is the dumping of the main propulsion system, depleting all of the fuel lines and fuel tanks of any residuals that obviously are no longer needed.
Columbia, Houston, coming to you through the east satellite now. We're going to hold off on APU hydraulic shutdown for just a few seconds so we can watch some cooling. We'll be back to you shortly with the go for that.
Roger that. Houston, Columbia, we're starting the maneuver to the photo DTO.
Roger, Columbia, we're watching. Columbia, Houston, you have a go for APU hydraulic shutdown with the DTO sequence of 3, 1, 2.
Okay, Taco, and that's in word. And Houston, Columbia, that was quite a ride on the way up, and we are really glad to be here.
Columbia, Houston, it was almost as enjoyable for us. You really look good on ascent.
Thank you. And this is great up here. Just beautiful.
As we continue to watch replays of this morning's successful launch of Columbia, the crew aboard Columbia is in orbit, currently at an altitude of 66 nautical miles in a 156 by 44 nautical mile orbit. Coming up in about 25 minutes, the orbital maneuvering system engines will be fired to circularize Columbia's orbit at 160 by 163 nautical miles. In the meantime, the crew will be busy configuring their systems on board to prepare for that OMS burn. That involves shutting down systems that were used during the climb to orbit that are no longer of necessity right now, including the auxiliary power units that provide pressurization of the hydraulic systems. Flash evaporator system operation during the climb to orbit was nominal. There were absolutely no problems reported here in the flight control room. That system is being activated fully at this point to begin supporting the cooling requirements of the vehicle before the payload bay doors are opened. We're watching as the APUs are shut down, and mechanical systems officer just reported that that system is shut down. The main propulsion system dump is complete at this point. The crew will be reconfiguring their onboard computer systems very shortly, and then setting up for the OMS 2 burn. Flight controllers will be calling the crew with final numbers as far as time of ignition and system configurations for the upcoming maneuver.
Columbia, Houston, we're going to use the nominal OMS 2 this morning, and we like your TIG on board.
Roger that. And Pierre and Marcia are looking at the tank, and they say it looks nominal.
Roger, thanks for the report. Columbia, Houston, we like your OMS 2 target solution.
Roger, thank you.
At 19 minutes 47 seconds into the flight of Columbia on shuttle mission STS-62, all flight controllers here in Houston like what they see at their consoles as they look at the orbiter systems and the crew going through the steps to prepare their vehicle for a circularization burn coming up in 22 minutes. The onboard information that is loaded on the shuttle's computers to calculate the start of the burn and the duration of the burn are not going to be revised. The climb to orbit was so precise this morning that there will not even be any minor alterations to the computer commanded maneuver coming up in 21 minutes and 51 seconds.
And Houston, Columbia, we're feet dry over Africa.
Columbia, Houston, roger, we copy that. Maybe you could give a wave to Frank and Kurt as you go by.
Yep, we can, I think we can see the airfield as we're going by. Tell them thanks for the support.
We'll pass that on. Thank you. Columbia Houston, for John and Andy, when you get a chance, can you give us a debris report for your windows?
Okay, Taco, give us just a couple of minutes. Houston, Columbia.
Go ahead, Columbia.
Yeah, Ken, John is off comm here for just a couple minutes, and he'll give you the status on the left side. On the pilot side, I would just say some minor smudging on the forward and the two right windows. It looks a whole lot better than it did my last trip.
Roger, we copy some minor smudges on the right side windows, and we'll stand by for John when he gets back.
And Ken, that was off after SRB set, as you guys probably know.
We copy. Thank you, Andy.
Houston. Houston, Columbia.
Columbia, Houston. John, go ahead.
Okay, Ken, the debris report on the CDR side. Some smudges, about 6 or 8 on the window 3, and a few smudges on window 2, but basically looks pretty good.
Roger, we copy on the left windows, 6 or 8 smudges on window 3, a few on window 2, but overall the windows look in good shape.
Yeah, I'd say it's very clean, maybe better than last time.
Roger, we copy, and we were wondering how the LES cooling worked for you during ascent.
It is just out. We had much more cooling available. Houston, finished with the photo DTO and starting maneuver to Ohms 2.
Roger, Columbia, and we had some comm dropouts during your LES cooling report, but basically we got that it was very good and better than you'd seen in the past.
Oh yeah, it's terrific. There's much more cooling available than we need, and most of the time we just had it down at a very low flow.
Okay, we appreciate your words. We'll let you get back to work now.
That call from Commander John Casper was in regard to the launch and entry suit cooling garments.
The paper said we are as cool as a chilled martini at sunset.
Columbia, Houston, I must be taking the wrong paper, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I think that was a Florida paper.
This is Mission Control Houston. NASA Select is now originating from the Johnson Space Center as Columbia tracks southeasterly across the African continent on the first orbit of this 14-day mission. Just moments ago, Commander John Casper was relaying comments on the new and improved launch and entry suit cooling garments that he and pilot Andy Allen were wearing during the climb to orbit this morning, reporting that they had much more cooling available to them than they needed and kept it running pretty much at a low level the entire time. That's good news for the designers of that suit, and with a positive report, they can carry that information to the next phase of testing of this new launch and entry garment. Just to recap, the climb to orbit was absolutely perfect this morning. There were no system anomalies reported or discussed during or after the ascent this morning here in the flight control room. The crew has worked through their pre-Ohms 2 burn procedures, dumping the main propulsion system and shutting down the auxiliary power units, reloading the onboard computers with the software needed to support the upcoming Ohms 2 burn. Maneuver is due to take place in about 11 minutes. This particular maneuver will involve firing both of the orbital maneuvering system engines to accelerate Columbia into a more circular orbit from that 156 by 44 nautical mile orbit that they're in now. This will serve to circularize them at nearly 160. In fact, the target is 160 by 163 nautical miles.
Columbia Houston with some notes on comm.
Go ahead, Ken.
John, when we get closer to the ZOE, we are going to hand down to Diego. I'll get you the times later. We thought earlier that we'd have UHF through the Indian Ocean site, but that is not available today, so you do not need to select UHF.
Okay, no UHF at iOS. Copy that.
Columbia Houston, we're about a minute and a half away from handing down to Diego. We'll lose Diego again at MET of 47 minutes, and if we have any problems with Diego, we should get you again on the west satellite at 49 minutes and 22 seconds. Hopefully we'll be able to watch you through the burn, or through the prep for the burn through Diego.
Okay, understand, and pick us back up AOS at 4922. And Houston, from the mid-deck, be advised APCG has a message, fan current off nominal, and the 28-volt circuit breaker is popped, and the 4 LCD push buttons are flashing.
Columbia Houston, roger, payloads copies.
That last call was from Mission Specialist P.R. Thuet down on the middeck of Columbia as he was checking on the status of the protein crystal growth experiment and calling down the state of the status lights on there. And payload experts here on the ground are going to take a look to make sure that that's an okay configuration, and if not, to recommend action for Thuet to correct it. At this point, we're handing over our communications from the T-C satellite to Diego Garcia, a ground-based tracking station in the central Indian Ocean. Columbia is in the proper attitude for the upcoming boosting maneuver. That burn is scheduled to get underway in 2 minutes 15 seconds. Again, this is an acceleration maneuver designed to raise both the apogee slightly and the perigee significantly from 156 by 44 nautical miles to 160 by 163.
Diego Garcia.
Loud and clear, Houston, how many?
Hear you loud and clear, and we're ready to watch the burn.
This is Mission Control Houston. The propulsion officers reported that the OMS 2 burn is underway, and our guidance officer likes the control of the vehicle at this point. Everything is going very well. We're watching the data through the Diego Garcia tracking station and have about 4 minutes of coverage remaining. So most, if not all, of the maneuver should be monitorable here on the ground. The flight dynamics officer has just reported that we're above the minimum safe orbital perigee at this point. That's an indication that Columbia is on orbit to stay, at least for a while, as the maneuver plays out. Flight controllers will continue to watch.
a good burn, Houston.
Roger, Columbia, we concur.
And it appears that both flight controllers in Houston and the crew aboard Columbia concur on the results of the OMS 2 maneuver. Columbia's current orbit is a 160.9 by 162.4 nautical mile orbit. Residuals will carry it to its designed 163 by 160 orbit. We're about to lose our voice and telemetry through the Diego Garcia tracking station in just about a minute. Flight controllers beginning to take a break from console after having been here diligently watching as the countdown played out to a picture-perfect liftoff and climb to orbit this morning on time at 7:53 a.m. Central Time.
Columbia, Houston, we're about 20 seconds from LOS from Diego, and again we'll pick you up on the west satellite at 49 and 22 seconds.
And we're going into pulse insertion.
This is Mission Control Houston. We're at 47 minutes 28 seconds into the flight of Columbia on shuttle mission STS-62, the 16th flight for Columbia. This mission carries aboard as its primary payload and activity the United States Microgravity Payload 2. The crew has completed their ascent checklist activities, including the configuration of the computers and orbital maneuvering system engines following the OMS 2 burn. They'll be spending the rest of their morning in the post-insertion checklist and then beginning the early stages of their on-orbit flight plan. First on the agenda for the crew is to prepare the onboard computer systems to support the nominal orbital operations. That particular configuration or domain of software is known as Ops 2. They'll be loading the computers with that, checking out the interrelationships between the computers, and then bringing that system online. Once the data processing system has been configured, they'll be activating the payload bus to assure proper power to the payload systems, and then maneuvering to the payload bay door opening attitude. That is the direction they want to point the shuttle before opening the payload bay doors, activating the radiators, and begin using those radiators to emit the heat that's built up in orbiter systems out into space. Should everything go according to the plan, we would be at this point about 30 minutes away from opening the payload bay doors. We anticipate reacquiring voice and telemetry in just a few seconds through the Western Tracking and Data Relay satellite.
Columbia, Houston, we're with you through the west satellite with a note for Block 1 in post insertion.
Ready to copy Block 1.
John has planned and has talked about before the flight in Step 9 of Block 1. We're going to change the TIFL to be loaded from 188 to 161.
So we copy that. And we're ready to start Block 1.
Columbia, Houston, you have a go for Block 1. Columbia, Houston, with a question on the APCG.
Go ahead on APCG.
Roger. Marcia, first of all, we believe that 28-volt circuit breaker should nominally be out at this time. And the first thing we'd like to check on the APCG is that the fan inlet is not clogged or blocked in any way.
Fan is not clogged. Taco, did you copy? The fan is not clogged.
Roger, we copy that. Thank you, Marcia. We're working up some words for you now.
Okay.
That conversation between Capcom Ken Cockrell and Mission Specialist Marcia Ivins was regarding the protein crystal growth apparatus on the middeck of Columbia. Just before the ohms burn, Pierre Thuot had radioed down that they saw a circuit breaker that was popped, the fan was off, and LED lights, indicator lights were flashing. The payload's experts here on the ground have determined that the circuit breaker is in a normal configuration, and in order to troubleshoot the flashing LEDs, the crew's been referred to a particular malfunction procedure that will help them diagnose that, reset the lights, and get that system running normally.
Columbia, Houston for APCG.
Go ahead.
Roger, Columbia. We have a malfunction procedure that we're going to eventually want to put into work for the APCG out of payload system data and malfunction procedures, MAL 1.5 Bravo. We do not want the working of this MAL to interfere with post-insertion, so it's as crew work time is available. And when you get down to it, we have some changes in blocks 45 and 55, should you get to those blocks.
Okay, the changes in 45 and 55, 1.5 Bravo, we'll get it when we can.
Good copy, Pierre. Thanks.
It's been determined by the flight control team here that the condition of the APCG is not of immediate concern, and the crew is referred to a specific procedure that was developed for precisely this case, and told that they can do that when they have time to get around to it. Right now, the crew is pretty well occupied with getting their spacecraft squared away for extended orbit operations. They're in the early stages right now of preparing their data processing systems, the onboard computers. That is assigning them the new domain of software that they'll use, and assigning new channels between orbiter systems and the computers to make sure that all systems will be properly supported both by the computers and observed by the ground throughout the orbit operations phase of the flight.
Columbia, if it's okay, we're going to do WCS activation now.
Columbia, Houston, you have a go for that.
Thanks.
Columbia, Houston, can you check the right-hand side flight control power to off, please?
Thank you, we'll get it.
Welcome to our STS-62 post-launch news conference. Our players this morning from your left are Lauren Shriver, Manager, Launch Integration, Space Shuttle Program, and Robert B. Seek, Kennedy Space Center Launch Director. We'll start off with Mr. Shriver.
I'll be very brief. It's a great pleasure for me again to have the second in a row on-time launch. Admittedly, yesterday we had a few weather problems, but a quick rescheduling, and we got everything going again this morning. A beautiful morning. Of course, we did have to worry a little bit about the weather. We never go through a countdown without doing that, and there were some worries, and Edwards kind of dropped out at the last minute, so we adjusted some things. We don't require Edwards to be there for launch reasons, and so we were able to continue the countdown without really, from the program point of view, a single hiccup or delay or any kind of problem whatsoever. So it turned out to be a very beautiful day and a very beautiful launch.
Bob?
Well, I think the term a smooth launch count certainly applies. The built-in hold we added yesterday to take care of the fact that we didn't want to launch on the day that the weather was predicted to be bad, and it was exactly as predicted. Ended up being a good rest period for the team, and we picked up the count last night 15 to 20 minutes early, and we stayed ahead of the schedule all the way through the beginning of the window. Dealt with no technical issues on the ground side or the flight hardware. After we loaded the external tank, we had a couple of minor leaks on the facility side of the liquid oxygen system, which were not an impact either to the operation or safety. And as expected, we have one of the water spray boilers for the orbiter hydraulic system that has a characteristically low evaporator temperature on its outlet duct, and we expected that. And again, no change to procedures. The only thing we did have to do different through this whole launch count is manage the SRB recovery. And what we did this time is solicited the aid of the Coast Guard, the Navy, and the Air Force to aid us in keeping an eye on the boosters out there in the Atlantic until our recovery ships get on station. The recovery ships left this morning. They should be leaving the port now. And they'll get out to the impact area sometime midday tomorrow, depending on how the sea state is between here and there, which look to be running between 10 to 15 feet. In the meantime, there's a buoy out there that has